Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be looking at the triple feature Variety Scout with Variety Lyra, Kris, and Lucas, and their rerun, and seeing just what these characters can do again. They released around a year ago, for last year's EV Day, which was a lot smaller than this year's, and honestly I'm kind of glad that it's bigger of a celebration this year. You know, we get a free evolution, we got the EV Egg Pokemon, we got the event, so honestly, I'm enjoying it. Or I'm going to enjoy it rather when it releases. I think it's definitely a nice thing to have these monthly, outside of Pokemon Masters Day, of course, but like having these random events that are a little bit bigger than, you know, the usual story event and whatnot. I think they're a little bit fun, and they're cute, and they're cool. So, anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and look at these characters here and their abilities. Most of them, in this case, are very fundamentally the same. They just do different things depending on their typing, and, you know, what the Pokemon's abilities are naturally. The best thing I can say is that Lucas and Kris here both work off of burn and paralysis, while Lyra here works off special defense debuffs, which in my opinion gives her a big edge over them. Also, the fact that the Annabelle Ultimate Battle event is now out, and Lyra here is actually one of the very few characters that is actually pretty good for the event, right? One of the more consistent of the characters that are available, so yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at their kits again, I guess. So, looking at the stats, Lucas here has 285 speed, 180 special defense, 166 special defense, 633 speed. A little bit lower on the offensive side, I would say, but it's not really bad. I mean, these stats aren't like crazy, I guess, but eh. Looking at the special attack, 346, that's pretty low, all things considered, and he is a special attacker. For some reason, he's got 317 attack, which makes sense for Flareon, but he doesn't utilize the attack stat at all, so I don't know why it's that high, and speed's pretty low. So stats for Lucas are honestly pretty mid, maybe even bad. Lyra, pretty similar, honestly. The stats all look pretty mediocre, I would say. And then Kris, she's got good speed. Her special attack's actually pretty solid. And then the defenses, yeah, I'd say Kris has the best stats of all of them, which is kind of weird, I guess, for Jolteon. You think Vaporeon would have, with it having relatively good bulk and special attack, but nope, it's Jolteon in this case. Good speed, good special attack, solid enough bulk, better than both of these two, right? Or about the same at the very least. And then solid enough HP, right? So yeah. Anyway, let's look at Lucas first here. He's got Ember for a 1-gauge spammable move. He's got Heat Wave for an AoE fire move. Will-O-Wisp for guaranteed burn, and the trainer move, which raises his crit by 1 and special attack of all allies by 2. So he's got crit support, and the innate nuke multiplier is when the enemy is burned. Very, very solid. If we go to his passive skills, he's got Solarize, meaning he sets the weather to sunny after using his sync move. The biggest problem with this, as I stated with Elio and Celine, is that it doesn't work for the sync move, right? The sun's gonna go down when after you use your sync move, or whenever, right before you use your next sync move, rather. So, unless you do sync countdown acceleration, or, you know, maybe just make it so you can go really fast, I guess, through the battle, because I'm pretty sure weather is on like a kind of time sort of basis. So if you can kind of get through the enemies quicker and whatnot, you know, use faster moves, whatever, that type of stuff, you may be able to get to your sun before it goes down, but 9 times out of 10, without sync countdown, you're not going to get to this. Team Solar Immunity, becoming immune to any status conditions, as well as Confusion Trap and Flinching when in Sun, definitely pretty good. And Blunting Strike 9, lowering enemy attack by 1 whenever using a move that targets that opponent. Ember would debuff single target, Heat Wave would be AoE, and I'm pretty sure it's for any move targeting that opponent. So whenever you use Will-O-Wisp, it will also activate that ability. So you're able to debuff attack with him, which is pretty solid, burn, and then have Heat Wave. Biggest problem is that this just kind of sucks. I'm just gonna be honest. The support abilities are nice, but really, burn isn't that crazy. The nuke is not gonna be crazy. The multiplier is, I think, only 50%, which isn't that good. And then Heat Wave, 109 power split, not that great. And then attack debuffs aren't really the best thing ever. They're fine, but nothing crazy, right? So yeah, 1 out of 5. That's Lucas's problem, and we can also compare that to Kris, I believe. Because if you look at Kris here, it's the same thing as Lucas. She's got Discharge for her AoE move, Thunder Shock for the single target move, Thunder Wave for paralysis. Her turn move is the inverse to where she now gives crit support of +1 and raises her own special attack by 2. The nuke here is with paralysis, and her passive skills here, she has Power Plant, which is electric terrain on the sync move, same problem as Solarize. Team electric current, stats cannot be lowered whenever in electric terrain, so instead of, status condition immunity, it's stat debuff immunity. And then snaring strike, luring enemy evasion instead of attack. So Kris and Lucas share pretty much the same abilities, just swap around the debuffs, swap around the type, and swap around the status change, or status condition rather, and that's pretty much it, right? Like, they are fundamentally the same character, it's just they've got these slightly tinkered abilities. Lyra is definitely a bit different, but I'll go into her on her own because I think she is definitely quite a bit different. Looking at Lucas's grid here, though, he's got at 1 out of 5. Let's be honest, it's pretty much nothing. Move gauge refresh, that's it, and flame proof. 2 out of 5, he gets Healing Sun and Charging Sun. 50% multiplier and Heat Wave is definitely not bad. Heat Wave, move gauge refresh, turn move NPR for special attack support and maxing crit, not bad. Team Brain buff 2, raising special defense of all allies by 2 after using his sync move. Burn synergy 5 for extra DPS multipliers. And that's pretty much it. And I guess accuracy buffs. Not a bad 2 out of 5, I would say. You're getting 100% total multipliers for your Heat Wave, but really, it's not the best because Heat Wave's power is already not that great. It's still split target, and your special attack is pretty low. Even with the EX, 386 special attack is not like the highest stat ever. So really, with a move that's already split power and whatnot, this isn't going to be the greatest buff, but I guess it isn't too bad, right? And then the Team Brain buff too is just an extra thing. It's not really going to be too impactful, and that's pretty much it. 3 out of 5, he gets Solar Flare 5, Speeding Sun 3, Stupefying Strike 9, Brain Power, Scorching Sync 5, Adrenaline 1, Synchro Healing, and the Sync nodes. Rejuvenate 6 isn't really relevant. So, Speeding Sun 3 gauge stuff, you're not going to pick it up. Let's just be honest with ourselves. You're not going to pick it up unless you just cannot pick up anything else, right? Because if you want to get to Solar Flare 5, you're going to have to pick up Speeding Sun or Charging Sun 5. Let's be honest, between these two, I'm picking up the DPS multiplier. They cost the same energy. Stupefying Strike 9, debuffing special defense is definitely good, right? It's AoE for guaranteed to be AoE, and if you're using Heat Wave, right? And you're also debuffing attack, so you got double debuffs, which is definitely solid. Brain Power for the nuke and Scorching Sync 5 as well, plus Solar Flare 5, plus the innate multiplier here, meaning you've got a total multiplier of about 250%. Obviously, I don't think it's additive. I think it's multiplicative. I don't remember, but either way, those are good multipliers to have for sure. Extra power, especially for having a lower offensive stat. Adrenaline 1 for sync countdown is obviously always really nice, especially, again, it could potentially help you get to your next sync move because of the Solarize, especially if you run double Adrenaline. Could be good. Synchro Healing for obviously just the healing is always going to be very nice. And it's infinite, right? Infinite use, because if you are using him for the sun, you're probably going to be syncing with him repeatedly. So you get that Synchro Healing always, which is going to be very nice for, ally restoration. And then again, special defense debuffs, attack debuffs, very nice. It's also not hard to activate the nuke. Brain Power is very easy to max out. Scorching Sync, you just need the burn, which he can do very consistently. Solar Flare 5, having Sun Up's not... With him, it's pretty difficult, but having a Sun support isn't bad at all. And I think that's it for the most part on the nuke, right? So that's not too bad, definitely. So you get all those multipliers pretty much for free, and then you obviously have your DPS multiplier still. You got yourself the Adrenaline, Synchro Healing, and whatnot. You got a lot of stuff to work with. Though, obviously, you can't pick up everything, so you do have to sacrifice wherever you can in order to try and pick up everything you possibly can, pick up everything that's important. Sadly, you probably will not be able to pick up Stupefying Strike and the Heat Wave Move Gauge Refresh in most scenarios, unless you just get rid of a lot of nuking stuff, which not really too recommended, because generally you're going to run this grid. This is your full nuking grid, as well as having the Charging Sun DPS multiplier, which is nice. But obviously, you can also swap some stuff out here if you want to go for Stupefying Strike, which I can definitely not blame people for. Obviously, it's a good ability, 100%. But obviously, that would require you to sacrifice some stuff. Maybe you want to pick up Burn Synergy now to help out with your DPS. Would make sense if you are using Stupefying Strike just to have your damage be a bit higher from that. So it's not too bad. Overall, Lucas's abilities are pretty basic. He's got brain power, he's got a 250% total multiplier, 100% total DPS multiplier, Adrenaline 1 for sync countdown, synchro healing for team healing, and a few debuffs with special defense and attack, right? And then obviously the normal kits related to Sun. Biggest problem, again, as I said with him, is that there's no Sun extension, so most of the time whenever you use this sync move, the Sun's not going to be up unless you have a support or just another character that sets Sun, or if you have some sync countdown, which he can maybe mitigate and help out a little bit with, but generally it's going to be kind of iffy. Kris, I'm going to just assume Kris is very similar to Lucas. If you remember what Kris's kit was, quick refresher, you can look at these abilities, of course. But looking at her, yeah, she's very, very similar to Lucas. Brain power, static shock, sync induction, paralysis synergy 5, power induction 5. Almost all in the same location too. Power induction's a little bit different than charging Sun, but still. Looking at them, if we just look at the multipliers and compare them, they're all pretty much in the same spot. Yeah, right there. So just looking at them, they're almost all in the same spot. And then turbocharge 2, shock recovery. She gets disenchanting strike 9, which debuffs special attack now. Not bad. So instead of getting stupefying strike, she now debuffs special attack. Adrenaline 1 and synchro healing, they are now swapped on the grid for some reason. And then team evasive rush 2, raising evasion after using the sync move. Definitely more useful than team brain buff 2, I would say, but generally you're probably not going to pick it up. And again, same problem, same type of grid build, really. If you want the full nuke, you're going to be pretty much picking up the exact same thing. Or even less, because apparently you can't pick it up. Sick. No, it's power induction, right? So, yeah, you would just pick that up, right? Sadly, you cannot pick up power induction for your DPS, so the grid's actually slightly worse than Lucas's if you're going for full nuke. But then again, of course, you can still go for your Disenchanting Strike 9 over here if you do want to go for that. And I guess it is easier to get to the nuke, so big whoop. Yeah, Kris and Lucas are pretty much the same unit, except a few different debuffs. Obviously, burn instead of paralysis, different supporting ability, that type of stuff. But in terms of just how the unit works, they are exactly the same. There's no difference. And then Lyra, which is probably the most unique of the three. Her multipliers are mostly in the same location, but she is fundamentally probably the best of the three. Looking at her move, she's got Water Gun and Muddy Water. These don't change between Kris and Lucas here. But Muddy Water is the strongest of the three. Yeah, it is the strongest move of all three between Discharge, Heat Wave, and Muddy Water. It is the strongest. 30% chance to debuff accuracy as well, so that's definitely very, very nice. And she's got Fake Tears instead of having the move effect, right? So, status condition, whatever. So that's definitely infinitely better. Being able to debuff special defense is immensely better than paralysis and burn, and this is actually a really solid ability here. And her trainer move here raises her special attack by 2 and speed of all allies by 2. Having speed support, I'm not going to say it's better than crit support or better than offensive support, but it's definitely got a good case for sure. Speed is amazing universally. If you're running someone with Kris here, maybe you don't even need crit support, or same thing with Lucas, maybe you don't need special attack support, you don't really care that much, but speed is universally going to be really good just for your gauge anyway, so always good to have. So you can make the argument there. Her nuke is the innate of Brain Teaser, no Smarty Pants rather, sorry. So you got that instant 100% multiplier over these two characters 50%, so this is already making her stronger, just outright. But of course you got to consider lower special attack than Kris, I believe, and then about the same special attack as Lucas, actually better. She's got Rain Collar for her after using her sync move, so she sets Rain. Team Raincoat, protecting allies from crits whenever in rain. And then Impeding Strike 9, debuffing enemy speed by 1 after attacking. Or using a move on them, rather. So that's actually very solid, because it does activate for Fake Tears as well. You don't have to use Muddy Water or Water Gun. You can use Fake Tears for special defense debuffs, which is already very nice. And it will also debuff speed as well. So if you have a character with Cakewalk that can also benefit from special defense debuffs, it's not a bad idea, right? Like Wally. If you run Wally and you use Focus Blast as well as his nuke, then you can activate Cakewalk with Lyra here, and you can also debuff special defense, so Focus Blast does more damage. It's not a bad idea, and there's probably other examples that I can't really think of. Getsus, right? Debuffing speed for Getsus's innate multiplier, as well as Hunter's Instinct, as well as debuffing special defense just for extra damage. Not a bad idea. Overall, looking at the grid, 1 out of 5 is pretty much nothing. 2 out of 5, again, similar abilities. The grid is pretty much the same. It's just the biggest difference is the fake tears, which is a very big difference. Team Focus Rush 1, raising all allies crit by 1 after using her sync move. Not bad. I would say it's probably the best of these two abilities, but also buffing ally crit after using her sync move is iffy, meaning your sync move may not crit. If she's at like +2 crit, right? Kind of iffy. You're probably not going to run this ever because she needs a crit support to do damage on her sync move anyway. So generally, you're probably going to max the crit with no problem. Yeah, Brain Teaser again, definitely a good multiplier. Raging Rain as well. I think Brain Teaser is a lower multiplier than Paralysis Synergy 5 and Burn Synergy 5, but the DPS isn't going to be that crazy anyway, so it's not really a big problem. 3 out of 5, she gets Racing Rain, Rain Gear, Blunting Strike 9, Brain Power, Smarty Pants, Synchro Healing, Adrenaline 1. The normal abilities, right? Blunting Strike 9, not bad. Debuffing attack like, I think, Lucas? Yeah, she's able to debuff attack. This just means that Lyra can consistently debuff attack, speed, and special defense. Special defense by 2, by the way, which is already good. That's a very good ability to have. So debuffing that many stats, that's why Lyra is probably one of the better options for the event versus Annabelle, because she's able to debuff so many stats, get rid of Entei's Fluid Fortification, and all of that. And when it comes to just overall nuking multipliers, she's got Brain Power and Smarty Pants, as well as her innate multiplier here, meaning she's got a total of a 300% multiplier, which is better than both Kris and Lucas, so that's very, very nice. And very easy to activate again. Special defense debuffs, not hard to get with fake tears, and Brain Power, you're nuking, you're going to have a maxed out special attack anyway. Definitely not too bad. And then again, Adrenaline 1, Synchro Healing, all about the same use as Kris and Lucas, I would say. Rain Gear is very nice because it does mean she can bulk a little bit better. Obviously, as we said, her stats aren't the greatest, but if you have a 30% damage reduction ability here, it can definitely, make it look a lot better. And again, that bulk is quite a bit useful for the ultimate battle with Annabelle because of how hard she hits and how long that battle can be. Because it can go like past 3 sync moves, I believe, which is just crazy, dude. Anyway, yeah. That's pretty much my inputs on Lyra, I would say. I'd say she's the best just because she has fake tears over a status condition ability, as well as having universal speed support is just more universally going to be useful. It's going to be more useful just in most scenarios than special attack and crit support. Well, maybe not crit support, but mostly special attack. So, yeah, I would say so, and just all of her debuffing abilities altogether make her pretty solid. So, if you really want to take anything away here, all of them share the fundamental ability of 1-gauge spammable move, 3-gauge AoE move, setting a different weather / zone effect / terrain, whatever, having a solid nuke, being able to support in some aspect, being able to debuff in some aspect, and whatnot, right? Kris and Lucas share the status condition ability, as well as Lyra here just having special defense debuffs. So, yeah. That's my overview for all 3 of these triple feature Variety Scout characters. I'd say they're all solid. I wouldn't say they're all like super meta relevant, and that was just kind of the case last year as well. Nothing really changed, but they're still solid, right? They can definitely be used for their debuffs mostly, and I guess having the Sun and whatnot, Sun, Electric Terrain, and Rain, just in case you need it, is also not too bad either. I wish they had extension. At least extension 3 would have been nice, just so you would have it up whenever you use your next sync move, but sadly, alas, they did not do that, and I guess I can understand why, but nowadays it wouldn't have been that crazy or insane or super powerful anyway, but yeah, whatever. I'll see y'all later. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be summoning for the triple feature Variety Scout down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the units, and I will see you all later.